Hello, this is Jim Jock with eXp Realty. I appreciate you watching the video. I wanted to go over the paperwork for the listing documents and whatnot. I know we're kind of all everywhere, so I figured this is probably the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to go over the paperwork. It's the same document that you're going to receive attached to this email in the same order, and I'm going to go over, everything that's there. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out either by giving me a call or emailing me back. Either is fine. If I'm available and not an appointment, I'll pick right up and can answer any of those questions for you. So let's get into the paperwork and go from there. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we are with the first form. And just so you know, a lot of these disclosures are because there's either a state or federal agency that says you have to tell sellers of property or maybe provide a disclosure to buyers about certain things. So these forms are disclosures where there's something I have to tell you. So the disclosure is the vehicle we do that, and then you usually sign off on the back side, and that's the acknowledgement of receiving the disclosure. So launching into the first form, as you see at the top, this is a New York State Department of State form. They want to make sure that you know who I represent and how that works. So since you are the listing folks, or I'm the listing agent and you're the sellers, then I am a seller's agent. And that's explained right here on the top of this first page of the form. That means that when we talk, everything is private and confidential and kept between us. This isn't shared with other agents. It's not shared with buyers who may come forward and things like that. Now, it does say that when buyers reach out to me directly, which happens often because I put a sign on the yard and I do just, advertising and marketing saying, call me about the house and I'll be glad to answer your questions. So it's not unusual that people do reach out to me. When they do that, I'm not representing them. I'm still representing you, but I'm working with them and doing my job with them well and reasonable skill and care of my duties, and disclose anything that has to be disclosed, but not things that don't have to be or things that are private and confidential. Okay? If it happens to be a buyer that I've been working for a long time and I know their private information and that type of thing, just like, I do with you, in a case like that, I would represent you as a dual agent, which means I've been working with both of you for a long time. So I keep that information, private and separate. And in a case like that, like I said, if it's somebody I've been working with a long time. The other one is if another eXp Realty agent shows the property, because it's the same brokerage, they also have a responsibility to you. But in a case like that, I work with you as a seller's agent and they still work with their buyers and keeping their information private and confidential. And then that's what the dual agent with designated representatives means. Okay? And then there's a paragraph that talks about that as well. And then the disclosure part, my name, James Jock, eXp Realty. You are the sellers, and I'm representing you as a seller's agent. And then and then this is where I've told you about what happens if another eXp agent shows a property, or if I show it to a buyer I've been working with a long time. And you do see it on this one. And then I have all of you listed here as the sellers of the property. And on my copy, we could see Tina's name, like all of it. So I'll just have to double check that. So you're indicated as sellers. And then you see there's 6 boxes here. Well, there's 6 of you, including mom. And then Donna signs as power of attorney for mom as well as herself personally. So when I send this to you for electronic signature, because it's your individual link, it's going to tell you to start signing. And one of these boxes is already assigned to each of you for electronic signature. And that's why you see these rectangle boxes. When I send it for signature, though, you're not going to see the other boxes. You're just going to see the one designated for you, and it's going to say, Denise, sign here, or, whatnot. Okay, so that's kind of how that's going to work as we roll through. The second disclosure is a newer disclosure, but not something that's new to real estate. This disclosure is a housing and anti-discrimination disclosure form, which means that we can't discriminate against potential buyers for any protected class. And here's a list of what that might look like. And just know that fair housing has been something that's been around for a long time and is taken very seriously. If a buyer feels they've been discriminated against through the process, they have a right to file a complaint or a grievance or whatever. And that information on what they do is on the bottom of this form. This form is provided to you as the seller so that you know what you can't do. And then it's also provided to buyers as well by their agent. Here's where it says more information on that is available here. And then this form was provided to me by James Jock. Thank you very much. eXp Realty. And then I or we, and I have you all listed here. And that's acknowledging receipt of that. And then you'll see the 6 boxes that we have here for each of you to sign. It looks like I missed checking that one seller box. All right. So that is that disclosure. There are also some disclosures that are eXp Realty specific that they feel that they want to tell you something else that's not already being done. So in this case, it's a carbon monoxide and smoke detector or smoke alarm disclosure. When somebody buys a property with a bank, the bank will also usually have their own CO2 and smoke detector disclosure. But I have to provide one because my broker says I have to provide one, and it doesn't hurt to do that. What this disclosure is saying is that there needs to be a smoke alarm in the house, more than one usually, but one minimum is all that's required for the purpose of a sale. And if there is a device in the house that burns fuel, like your boiler using natural gas, then you have to have a CO2 detector as well. And this disclosure says that. And then there are magically 6 boxes for each one of you. Well, there's 1 box for each of you to sign, 6 in total. The next form is an EPA form. This one says that homes built before 1978 could have the presence of lead-based paint or a lead-based paint hazard. So this disclosure is asking the seller to say, have you ever had it tested? Or do you know for sure if there is any lead-based paint still in the home or not? Well, according to what Donna told me, obviously you've never had it tested for lead-based paint. And because of that, I checked that block for you. And if you've never had it tested, then you wouldn't have any reports saying that you've had it tested or what the results are. So this is check saying that we don't have any reports because we've never tested. All right. And let's see. And then there are some blocks here for purchasers to sign. So we provide the disclosure. They receive the disclosure. They sign acknowledging that receipt of that by their agent when they purchase. Okay. Some more purchasers. And then I've already signed it here saying that I've informed your obligations under this USC code and aware of his or her responsibilities to ensure compliance. So what I'm saying is if you've had it tested, you have to disclose that you've had it tested. All right. And then we have, again, it's hard to fit these blocks in here because there are 2 seller here, my signature already, 4 more for you guys. And then there has to be room for the purchaser and their agent to sign as well. So if they have more than 2 buyers, they're going to have to go up the side of the form, I guess. Okay. So this next form is also a New York State form. This is called a property condition disclosure statement. The rules about this form is actually changing, and I'll just tell you for gee whiz. But it used to be, well, now through March, sellers had the option to not provide the disclosure. And when they do not provide the disclosure, it says right here, then you have to give a $500 credit to a buyer at closing because you didn't provide the disclosure. As of in March 2024, there is no more option. You have to provide this disclosure. There are some markets that like towards New York City and even Albany South, never provide it. It's always a credit. It's always a credit. Well, they don't always ask their seller if that's what they want to do. But anyway, so everybody's going to get the disclosure. And in our market up here, we pretty much always do. In some instances, it's not required, but that doesn't apply here. So let's see. Donna has already filled this out to the best of her knowledge, and I worked with her in answering a few questions, but it starts out, how long have you owned the property? How long have you occupied the property? In that case, we're talking about how long has mom owned it and how long has mom occupied it. Age of the structure. And then it's going through and asking a bunch of questions about, do any neighboring people claim ownership of any of the property? Well, the wall in the driveway, the homeowner association, some of that type of thing applies because we are in a managed residence area. And then there are environmental questions about flooding, standing water, and you'll have time to scroll through the PDF that's attached to the email and go through this in more detail as you so desire. So we will continue scrolling through. Structural, is there any wood rot, fire, smoke damage, termite infestation or damage? And then it's asking about the roof. Of course, in this case, the roof is a responsibility of the homeowner association, so that doesn't apply quite as much. I thought I wasn't recording here for a minute. I thought I was going to have to start over. So it's talking about the roof, and then it's getting into some of the systems of the house, like the water system, the sewer system, which again is public sewer, public water, who's the provider, the amperage of the service of the house. And then this part is asking if there are any known material defects in any of the following. And they're just talking through some of the systems of the house. Some are not applicable, like security systems, central air conditioning, things like that. It lists the school district as the city of Plattsburgh. And then here's where we sign. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Donna's already signed because she did that when she filled the form out. So each of you will have opportunity to sign the other blocks. And then we move down to the actual listing contract. This, again, it says right there, exclusive right to sell means that once we come on the market, regardless of where the buyer came from, still falls under the listing contract. We also already have some people in the neighborhood and people around town that are interested, and once we're listed, they'll have an opportunity just like everyone else. Okay. So this is a legally binding contract. It's to grant eXp Realty as the listing broker to submit the property and the for sale details to our multiple listing service, which is the Adirondack Champlain Valley Multiple Listing Service. It's authorizing the undersigned, and here we have all of you listed here. Us giving us permission to list 53 Maryland Road for $230,000, beginning on next Thursday the 2nd. The carpets are being shampooed on Tuesday. We want to give them a little time to dry out. Plus, I have to get in and do pictures and video without, doing it on before it's shampooed. So we want to present the house the best we can. So I want to get into a lot of pictures and walkthrough video, things like that. So I want to have all that done and edited and ready to go. So we'll come on the market on Thursday. 6 months is a typical listing. I don't expect it's going to take that long. There have been, 3 or 4 properties just on Maryland Road. So we had a good sense of what the market is doing, and that's how we came up with the $230,000. And this will be in the multiple listing system. It says within 3 business days following signing, but it's going to be, on that start date is when it is published. Okay. There's another fair housing disclosure here because that was before we had that other form that goes into more detail about that and lists additional protected classes. And then starting here, owner's authorization and obligation. You are authorizing me and eXp Realty put a for sale sign on the property, to have a key to let cooperating brokers in to take a look, and all of that. Marketing activity, you're authorizing me to use video and pictures and social media and things like that to market the property. The best way to get the best value out of a home is to get the most exposure to it all at the same time. Ideally, we want people backed right up one after the other. Say you only have 3 showings. I expect we'll have more than that. But if there are only 3, we want them like 11 to 12, 12 to 1. That we want them to see each other going in and coming out, and that just tells them that make a good offer. Okay. Exclusive right to sell, we talked about that. Purchase contracts, our standard forms are approved by our board's attorney, and that's how we can use fillable forms like this one. The purchase and sale agreement is also a fillable form, and that comes with a standard inspection contingency as part of that, saying that the buyers have the right to do an inspection if they so desire, and that's at their cost. Rental of the property, I have that as not applicable because my understanding is you want to sell the property, not rent the property, or for sale by owner, or rent to own, or some of those other things. Application of deposits. If we were under contract and the buyer walked away for reasons not allowed by their purchase contract, you get the deposit back, 100% of it. And that's because eXp puts 0 here. Other brokerages honestly put 50 or 75%. If somebody walks away from the property, we're going to put it back on the market and sell it. And then that's why I think it's fair that you get the deposit and not me. All right. So then we get into some of the legal stuff down here. The board and the multiple listing service are not agents. They're organizations that work in the background just to help us syndicate the listing out to, Realtor.com and Zillow's and all the home selling platforms that are out there. There's hundreds of them. Let's see. Brokerage fee amount, when due and payable. What this is talking about, I don't know why they call it that, but what this talks about is if somebody came through the property, like say towards the end of the listing period, sometimes they'll come to you or one of you and say, oh, well, let's wait until it's not listed anymore. And then, we'll cut Jim out of the deal for all this work. What this does is if somebody goes through the property when it's listed, then they're covered by that listing agreement for another 12 months. Unless the property is, expired and relisted. But that just keeps people from playing games. And unfortunately, I've had people play games over the years, and we've had to do that. And then this other paragraph applies to the same thing. Is, normally every commission has to be deposited with the county clerk's office until closing. Well, that would be cumbersome, but unless waived by the broker. Well, the brokers waive that pretty much every time unless some of the other thing with people playing games kicks in. So those are the lawyer added things. The amount of the brokerage fee specifically is a total brokerage commission of 6%. That is split between the listing brokerage, EXP, and whatever buyer broker there may or may not be. And so it's 3% on the buy side, 3% on the list side. So you're not obligated for more than one commission totaling 6%. Subsequent offers and purchase offers. If we had, say, multiple offers, or even after we're under contract, somebody said, oh, can I submit a backup offer? They can. Usually if we have multiple showings or multiple offers, we kind of already have those lined up because we know who's already looked at it. So I have marked here, of course, we can do either one, but we just have to all do the same. I had, I think, 4 people who had to sign a listing, and two picked A and two picked B. It's like, well, we can't do that because it's got to be all the same. So essentially what happens when we go under contract is it's published as a sale pending through the MLS. And then we have the option to refuse or submit backup offers. So if we submit backup offers, then technically the home could still be open to be shown, or we can refuse them. Either way, regardless of what we put here, if these other issues come up, I'm going to bring them to your attention and we can do whatever you want at that time. Okay? Paragraph H says that this is the whole deal, that you haven't made any side deals, I haven't made any side deals, and the whole agreement to sell the property is listed herein. And then I've got the 6 owner signatures, and then my signature goes there on the bottom as well. Okay? And then a few more EXP disclosures. The first one is a wire fraud advisory form. This one says that if you, through the process, are going to wire money either to or from you, it wouldn't be from you, but it would be to you, then any instructions that you get, you should call the number on that form to verify those details. Because once money is wired, it's gone. So it's something you have to be careful with. And then that's signatures here. So this next form I actually don't like. I'll be honest. So eXp Realty parent company, eXp Global, owns several companies. They own eXp Realty, Success Magazine, Success Lending, a title company. The lending and title companies aren't anywhere near here. I don't even know where they are. But because our parent company owns these other companies that could be all on the same transaction, we have to disclose that there are those other interests. I'm just saying I have to tell you that, but this doesn't apply in any way to our transaction. They're talking about what the rates are and stuff like that. It's just like, okay, but this all doesn't apply. But, I do have to tell you down at the bottom that you've read the disclosure. We've given you the disclosure, so then we have to tell you about all that. So I don't like that form, but that's one that I have to do. Okay, so that is all of the paperwork. All right, and I'm going to go back up to the top, but essentially, if you have any questions, give me a call, reach out. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. But if you don't have any questions, then look for another email sent to you using a platform called .loop. And .loop will walk you through signing. A lot of people have done digital signing before where you click here, click there, and things like that. So I'll just ask you to, obviously, hopefully you've watched the video, you've looked at the PDF that's the same forms that's up on the screen. And if you have any questions, please ask. Okay? Thank you very much. And thank you so much for letting me help you. Again, it's been my pleasure to work with all of the family, several of the family members for several years now. It is truly my pleasure and honor to do that. Talk to you soon. Thank you.